I think from an employer perspective, we obviously believe and we know what we want our employees to, have in terms of skills. So multiple skills, composite skills. But do the employees also believe that it's important for them? And, like you said, overwhelming, right? Because they probably just thought, okay, technical skills, I've got a job, now let me just get going. But now the organization's asking them to do so much more, which probably even in their education institute, nobody emphasized, right? So what's the employee view on this particular aspect? I mean, do you see even like a small percentage of employees coming forward themselves and saying, hey, let me learn this so that I know my growth path is better than, my peers? Does that happen from their perspective?
If I have to say from my organization perspective, it happens. We have to acknowledge the fact that we have Gen Y and Gen Zs in the organization. They are pretty fast. They know what they want. They know what will bring them to the that top level of the career, and therefore they are willing to explore opportunities of learning something additional beyond over and above their core skills.
Mhm.
Uh, it's important for us as learning and development folks or fraternity to understand that how do we campaign this? How do we actually create an awareness and orientation around this for employees? How do we handhold them around this? Um, and how do we give them platforms in order to kind of explore whatever they have learned or implement whatever they have learned? I think it's very important for us to think from that perspective. People are willing to learn new skills. They
Mhm.
also realize and acknowledge that if I continue to do what I am doing, I will continue to get what I am getting,
Yeah.
right? So there, it's a smart population today. So
Absolutely.
I don't think there is a problem on that side, but how do you actually curate, how do you bring this in the forefront for employees and give them an opportunity to understand that this is your development path and therefore you will need multifaceted skills, and this is what the organization offers? I think somewhere there is a little bit of gap because all of us are going towards that direction, but we need to understand where are the gaps in the respective organization, bridge them appropriately in
Yeah.
order to you know create a holistic picture which is easy for the employees to understand and adopt, is what I personally feel. So reward and recognitions are there, felicitating those folks which are learning. There is also a culture of leaders learning and sharing that, walking the talk, and that being seen and observed by the employees and getting into that particular direction. So there are multiple things that we do. Recognize you kind of rewards for being an early adopter into this new domain learnings or new kind of product learnings that you have engaged into. There are multiple things that we do. So reward recognition is a good way. However, please do not think that monetizing those rewards is a good way of doing things. I
Yeah.
think it is more about opportunities given to them. It is more about how do they grow and scale up in career, and we show that north star to them rather
Mm.
than saying that hey, you complete this and these are the incentives that you get. Of course, that will be an integral part of your appraisal systems, uh, but as a developmental tool, and let people. So there is a there is a huge responsibility that an organization, the HR folks, the L&D folks carry on their shoulders to kind of percolate this information to the employees that this is where you are, this is what the organization is helping you build, and this is your north star towards whatever you want to accomplish or have a career roadmap. That is very important. There's a lot of work that we need to do in that space.
Our philosophy towards that has been, I would say, a little different in the sense that, one, of course, the onus of making it attractive, right? That whether I should do this or, as Anisha also said, how do we take away the mindset that this is overwhelming,
Hmm.
Yeah.
right? So
Agreed.
if as an employee, and forget about an employee, as an individual, what I think makes sense to me and has a value, even if it is a little overwhelming in terms of my time and my core job, I'll probably not need a lot of convincing to do it.
Mhm.
But if I'm not able to show that value, however attractive it would be, and if, as you rightly said, even if it's a fatwa, you will still need a lot of push from the organization to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I think the way I look at it and the way we have kind of tried to do it in our organization is we worked a lot towards how do I make it relevant to that particular role? How do I make it relevant for that career growth? How do I club it? So there are a lot of things which we may not need to explicitly bucketize and say, okay, this is the power skill part of it, and this is the technical part of it, and this is the domain part of it. So when you package it together, so you say that, okay, for example, how we have done it, one of the things that we have done is that for junior to middle management, when a transition happens for an employee, there are certain prerequisites a person needs to have in terms of skill. And what we have done there is, as a part of the appraisal and even outside appraisal, the discussions are not only about what kind of technical skills do you need to exhibit in your next role.
Mm.
So it is a whole role that is getting discussed. So we're not kind of slicing it to say that, okay, this technical skill is required and this behavioral skill is required and this leadership skill is required. So we are saying these are the 5 things you need to have. This is where you currently are, and this is the kind of journey which might help you.
Right.
So what you are essentially doing is telling them where they are, telling them if this is your aspiration, what is the roadmap you may want to take, right? And
Mm.
also telling them, not really so explicitly, but what is the value if you were to do that?
Right.
If we are able to message that properly, right? As I said, it's a more of a pull that we are trying to create rather than pushing people to say, okay, now these are the 5 power skills, please complete X number of hours and X number of courses there. So I think that's what we are doing. Other than that, as a philosophy, again, from a strategy, L&D strategy point of view, what we have done in the last, particularly 1.5 years, is we have identified what we call critical skills,
Mm-hmm.
which are different domains. For example, we being in telecom, essentially AI, ML, 5G, and so on and so forth. So we have 7 critical skills that we have identified. And one of the critical skills that we have added, maybe as an afterthought, is power skill.
Yeah.
While we say it's a separate skill, but the way we are implementing it is we are adding a power skill to each of the 6 other critical skills.
Mm.
Right? While that is happening, but why we called it out as a 7th critical skill is we don't want to lose sight of what those elements are and where are those elements getting clubbed from a learning journey perspective.
Right.
Right? So if it's critical skill, which is identified as one of the power skills, so what we would want to do is where is the critical skill getting mapped in the remaining 6 critical skills that have been identified? Is it a part of the AI/ML journey? Is it a part of some other journey that we are talking about? So while we have kept it separate as a bucket, but from an implementation or a roadmap perspective, we have clubbed it. So when it comes to the end employee, why the way we are messaging it is this is the this is the bundle of skills, which is coming back to the composite skill. This is the bundle of skills that you need to know and have a mastery of to whatever extent is required for you to transition into your next role, whether it's a vertical or a horizontal role, whatever that be. And we have also gone ahead and created a lot of certification roadmaps where again power skills have been clubbed into.
Part of it. Yeah.
Right. So that's the attempt is don't kind of keep it a holy book where you only need to touch it once in a while.
Mm.
Make it a part of the everyday role that the person is doing and message it in such a way as to the employee not really questioning as to why is this additional skill that I need to do.